Okay, now this is just getting weird. Friday is the deadline that is supposedly set for Iran to attack Israel. It's a convenient time because it would still be about a week before our second carrier strike group gets into the CENTCOM region, Central Command region, to help Israel defend against Iran. Now, what's going on that's kind of weird about all this timing? Well, in addition to the 16th being before we get some more weaponry over there, that is the United States, Thursday, there's supposed to be a hostage and ceasefire negotiation. Blinken was supposed to go there. That's the U.S. Secretary of State. And as of this morning, he was traveling to Israel to prepare for this negotiation. Well, now we just heard that Secretary of State Blinken is now delaying his trip due to, quote, uncertainty about the situation. At the same time, Lebanon is evacuating prisoners in the southern portion of Lebanon, as well as Beirut, out of concerns for war with Israel. And Hamas has just thrown in the towel and said, JK, we're not going to negotiate a ceasefire deal with you, and we're not going to participate in a ceasefire deal on Thursday. This all comes after Iran is like, hey, maybe everything will be okay. If y'all can work out a good ceasefire deal, we won't strike Israel. But now you have Blinken not going to show up for the negotiation. Hamas doesn't want to show up for the negotiation. And I know it's just one particular source, but at least the New York Times is now saying that Bibi Netanyahu has apparently added more demands to ceasefire negotiation deals in recent weeks, making it now potentially even harder to reach a deal in the first place. Now, Israel denies this and says, fake news, New York Times fake news, we didn't change anything. But other people are suggesting that Israel has some big incentives for not striking a ceasefire deal, because some say Israel actually wants to be attacked because they want the United States to be looped in to defend Israel, and they want the United States to attack Iran. Now, Iran is nervous because, according to the Wall Street Journal editorial board, they might be close to a nuclear bomb. And the last thing Iran wants is to lose all their progress by having the United States strike Iran with some form of bunker busters and destroy their nuclear enrichment program, which of course they say they're not doing, but according to veteran nuclear inspector David Albrecht and Sarah Buchard at the Institute for Science and International Security, Iran has been increasing its enrichment of uranium and has bettered its position to produce a nuclear weapon not only over the last 2 years, but dramatically in just the last 2 weeks, potentially getting close to the breakout point for a bomb, which they suggest we might be unable to detect. Now, obviously, Israel doesn't want their nuclear program to be attacked because it gives them clout. The bigger bomb, Iran, right? The bigger bomb Iran has, the more power they have to negotiate in the region. We have a big bomb. Make a better deal with Gaza, Israel. Whatever, right? This is an opportunity for Iran to sort of flaunt how powerful it is if it is a nuclear power, and it is a way to potentially deter U.S. strikes on Iranian land. Of course, unless Iran attacks Israel and this expands into a multi-day war, just like Donald Trump alluded to, that could potentially overwhelm Israel's Iron Dome, and we basically, with Israel, counterattack Iran at Iranian land. Now, this is how you could potentially escalate into a World War III, because obviously you could get Russia and China and North Korea involved, potentially on the side of Iran, which would be very bad. This is what Donald Trump alludes to. Or we could try to strike preemptively, kind of like a Top Gun, some of those nuclear enrichment facilities. None of this is really good. And it's also very obvious that Iran does not like Donald Trump. Iran, really, frankly, and this has been reported by many publications, fears the return of Trump. And it's one of the reasons why U.S. spy agencies suggest that Iran is interfering with our election process by running fake propaganda websites, leaving fake propaganda comments to manipulate people's outcomes or beliefs, and potentially is going as far as directly hacking Donald Trump, or maybe they were even involved in DDoSing X last night for that interview with Donald Trump. Who knows? That's just an allegation at this point, but we do continue to see reporting that our spy agencies see Iran trying to doink with our election. And we know that they don't like Donald Trump. This was clear. Even Donald Trump himself mentioned that he was the one that basically made Iran broke by starving other countries of oil waivers that they were able to use to buy oil from Iran. When those were removed, they were no longer able to buy from Iran if they wanted anything to do with the United States, and that made Iran poor and sad. Anyway, so the culmination of all of this could end up being that there'll be a deal reached. After all, Joe Biden today was asked, and he's like, hey, if we reach a ceasefire deal, Iran is not expected to attack. Great, that would be wonderful. We don't want a World War III. It's just bad for everyone because that would lead markets to fall. Markets falling could lead to pushing us into layoffs to clean up corporate earnings, which could end up leading into recessionary concerns and fears. These are all really big issues. So we don't want that. Now, that doesn't mean you couldn't potentially position yourself with a long portfolio that has hedges, but you don't want to go to war. Now, we do have some other catalysts tomorrow, like, for example, we have CPI that comes out. The question is, will the ex-services hotness from the PPI report this morning that we covered on the Meet Kevin Market Open Live channel, will that carry over to CPI? Maybe not, but some of the PPI numbers this morning came in low because of trade services coming in, basically, trade services basically being some of the reason for some of the low reads. In other words, when you strip out trade services, you end up getting substantially higher reads of inflation that end up annualizing to 3.6 to 4.8%, which isn't good. And there's some really low expectations for inflation tomorrow. I mean, we'll see what happens, but out of 66 economists surveyed on Wall Street for the CPI core, 63 of them are expecting a 0.2 handle or lower on the month over month, which really sets everybody up to thinking, oh, CPI will be fine tomorrow. Might set up a large downside risk if we end up missing. At the same time, you've got Fed Bostic saying, hey, we need a little bit more data. It would be really bad if we cut rates and then had to raise them again. If the economy evolves as expected, there would, I expect, be a rate cut by the end of the year, suggests Bostic. So pretty benign read here, but again, a lot of these economic catalysts sort of hinge on the back of what's going to happen with Israel. Because if we end up getting war in the Middle East that expands significantly and people start getting nervous or they spend even less than what Home Depot reported today, which is, consumers having this quote unquote deferral mindset, that is having the ability to spend, but they're deferring spending because they're nervous about the economy or the election or whatever, then earnings go down, job loss goes up, and you're in a recession. So again, we're in a messy, precarious time. In fairness, though, the stock market has pretty much been straight up for about a week now, which is a good thing for the broader market. You kind of don't want markets to sell off because it hurts everything you're doing. Business ideas you have, startup ideas you have, household wealth, whatever. But we really bottomed out there on the 5th, and after that it was 6, 7, 8, 9, and then obviously we have a weekend, 12, and today have pretty much all been green. I mean, yes, we did have a couple red candles here, 1% on the Qs here, and that was a 0.22% day. So really, big deal. You had one red day over the last week, but it's been up. Hopefully that can continue for a long portfolio. I personally am hedged for a CPI miss. Now, I actually don't think inflation is a big problem. I don't think that inflation is going to skyrocket away. But I also recognize that the stock market is really weird. All it takes is one bad report or one bad thing happening, and the markets freak out and everybody hits the sell button. Combine that with how much CTA positioning there is to offload stocks if stocks start rotating up, which they have been, should create some selling pressure. Again, Selling pressure though, stock market going down, bad for the long portfolio, good for hedges, and obviously vice versa. So now the question is, what's CPI going to be tomorrow? We'll see. But we've got big catalysts. Tomorrow's CPI, I'll cover it live at 5:30 in the morning, California time. Then Thursday is negotiation and ceasefire day, as well as retail sales, BABA, and export and import prices, as well as Walmart earnings. And then on Friday, you get University of Michigan sentiment. So we've got a lot of catalysts. And if we don't get a ceasefire deal on Thursday, we might be in war as soon as Friday. If we do get a ceasefire deal, CPI is good, retail sales are good, and University of Michigan is good. In other words, all catalysts are good. You're gonna wish you had no hedges because those are all gonna get smoked and your long portfolio will be pretty happy. Anyway, as usual, not personalized financial advice. Hopefully this information is useful though in terms of catching you up with what's going on with Iran and what's going on with timetables. Looks like the next 3 days could be a really big deal.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.
Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is not personalized advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show shall not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services we may benefit from. I also personally operate an actively managed ETF. I may personally hold or otherwise hold long or short positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuer other than Househack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker. Make sure if you're considering investing in Househack to always read the PPM at househack.com.